Okay, now I know you're watching this video because you want to see how to replace the pads in a PX730WD or similar. Again, see description below. I'm going to be honest, I'm completely biased on this one. We ended up creating Printer Potty as a direct result of printer models like this. In the early days when Epson first started making porous pad assemblies, that's what they call these things here, but basically waste pad holders, they were trying to cram them into every little nook and cranny, which in some ways is admirable because it's trying to give the printer as much capacity for the waste ink as humanly possible. But the downside to it is that you ended up with this incredibly complex pad holder with a myriad of different size, shape and thickness pads. It's a bit of a mess, if I'm honest. So yeah, it was overly complex. It wasn't ideal. So where I'm going with this is, if I was given the choice between replacing the pads on one of these printers or fitting an external waste tank, I would go for an external waste tank every single time. Purely and simply because this process is a bit of a headache. So I just want to put that out front. If you're looking at this, have one of these printers, I would recommend the waste tank, the external waste tank, rather than replacing the pads. But we're here to show you how to change the pads in this thing, so we'll go ahead. Now, as you can see here, I've organised my set of replacement pads on the table, more or less mirroring the ones that I have in my pad holder here. Reason for that is, as I said, this is incredibly complex. You need to know where stuff goes. Now, luckily, I have one untrammeled version here, which has never been touched, or at least never installed in a printer. So I have a template to go on. This messy thing here, somebody obviously tried washing out the pads and putting it back in, and it didn't work very well. But anyway, my suggestion is that you take each bit one stage at a time and replace individual bits before moving on to the next. Do not take all of the pads out and then go, where does stuff go? Now, obviously you've got this video as a reference, but still there's nothing quite like having the pads in the machine or in the pad holder to be able to see what's going on and where it should go. Anyway, the tool I've got here is a little pick. It's quite a handy tool actually. So I'm going to be using this to take individual pads out or individual sections of pads out and then replacing them bit by bit. Now, where am I going to start? Let's start at this end here and work our way through. So grab hold of that pad. Before I get any further, one thing you are definitely going to need is a container to put your pads into. Okay, so have that to hand first, and then, like I said, pick that bit out there. Oh, and obviously gloves. So I've got one. Now, as I mentioned, I'm pretty sure somebody has taken these pads and tried washing them because they're awfully dry. So once we get those out, you get these two replacement pads here. I'm just going to slide those in like so, like that. Okay. So that's the first one. We're going to work into this section here. Now, these again, they've been washed. So I'm going to drag that out like that. Now then, this one at the bottom here, I believe, yes, it's part of a much wider unit. So I'm just going to take that out like that. Now, I'm pretty sure the way the replacements has been done is such that they are not one contiguous piece. It's a bit too tricky. Instead, what they've gone for is these like this, drop down into the unit like that, and then these two pieces here, one thick, one thin, and again dropped into the unit like that. Okay, so this part here, now we're going to tackle that towards the end because that's quite a complex bit there. So I'm going to come down to this end here now, and I'm going to, let me see, now then, pretty sure there is not a replacement for that part there, so I'm just going to hoik it out and get rid of it. Okay, there isn't a replacement bit for that. To be honest, I very much doubt it's absolutely necessary. There is, however, a bit for this one here. So take this one out, and then pop this one in like so. Then we're going to take these ones here and dump those out. And there is a piece at the bottom here, which is again, yeah, it's part of a bigger piece that goes all the way around. So yeah, we're going to end up taking the whole lot out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece out here and all of these bits here. Okay, put that on the table there so you've got it as a reference, and that will allow you to fit that in there, and then these pads will then go in there just fine. You see? And again, that goes in like so. Now, this piece here goes in there, which we're going to tackle in a minute, and this piece and that piece, as you can see, is going to go over here. Now that we've got all of this area sorted and we have these couple of extra bits, what I recommend you do is just stick one of those down in there and these two just down in there like that. So that's all of those voids filled in, apart from that little one there. Now what we're going to do is remove this bit here. Now this is a bit of a special one because you need to actually slide it out. So what you do is you lift these bits of padding here, okay, away like that. Put those and that one that we had out earlier out of the way. Effectively what this is kind of like a funnel. So your main waste tube connects into this and the waste ink jets into here, loses all of its energy and then drops down into the pads, and then those pads soak everything up and slowly but surely transfer some of that ink into all of these other pads like this. Okay, so to remove it, we've taken that bit of padding off there. We then slide the unit back this way. As you can see, it now releases it from that bit. So you angle it out like that, slide it back this way, and voila, it is out. And now you just hoik out this bit of padding like so over those bits there. You now have this piece here which goes into this like so, and this piece here. You when you first get it, you probably won't be able to spot the holes at first because they usually come all like that. All you got to do, see where the notch is and then locate the extra bits like that and like that, pop them out, put them to one side. You then slide that in across from one side, got to get it over that little lip there, and then it's in like that. You now put your funnel, best way to do this, get hold of the thing here, slide it at an angle like that in and underneath, then push it back, push down, push down to get it there, and then slide it back this way. You're going to struggle to get it under this piece again. Push down here to get it underneath there like that. Okay, and that is now well and truly into position. Bit of a swine. This pad, yeah, this pad here is a bit too thick. Okay, it's actually damaged that bit there. It's hooked it up and it's now leaning over. So that isn't ideal, but to be brutally honest with you, if this is the first time you've had to change these pads, chances are you're not going to be doing it again anytime soon. So now we've got the funnel back in position. What we do now is put this bit over the top. Now what you need to do is get it under this lip. So push it under there first, like so, and then push down into position. So it lifts under there. That's perfect. Okay, there isn't a bit of padding for here like you would have on this one. So I'll just show you over here. There's a bit of padding here that's missing. There's a little bit there, but again, that's not going to matter hugely. Remember that you don't want any loose pads hanging around because you've got all these gears and other bits that could potentially get gunked up with padding. So you don't want to be adding extra pads on top that could potentially get caught in the workings of the printer, because obviously that's not good for the printer. That is how you put your pad set together for this particular printer. Once you've done all of this and you're reasonably happy, what you then do is put the unit back in. First things first, orient your pad holder so it's the correct way around, like this, okay? And what we need to be able to do is turn it on its side like that. And we now need to be able to stick this waste tube here up into that hole there. Now, they do come with this little sort of collar. Be very careful putting this on, because if you drop it into the gubbins, it's a pain in the butt side to get out, as the blooper reel will undoubtedly show. So you slide that on like so. Okay. And then you have your printer and your pad holder lined up like this. So the funnel is going to be pointed towards where the main waste tube is. Your catch and screw hole are going to be aimed up at this end towards the back. And what we need to be doing is aiming our tube in to the funnel like so, and then pushing the little catch collar thing into position like that. Now you need to be very careful not to pull too hard, because if you do, that will pull straight back out like that. Okay, so put that back on as before, and then ever so gently get that like so. And what you've got to do, you slide this end here. It's got a couple of lugs that you've got to get in position. But what you're making sure is that that waste tube hasn't let go. You can see the waste tube is up there. It's still connected into the funnel. Okay, so we've got it in position properly there. And then what we're going to do is just gently drop it down into position until it clicks like that. Once that's locked into position with the catch, we then put our screw back in like so. That will now hold that pad holder back in position like that, and that's it sorted. You then turn your printer back over, make sure that none of your panels here are part way open or anything like that. You don't want that like that or like that. Make sure everything is shut here, and then place it on its front like so, and onto the base like so, like that, and that's it. You've replaced the pads inside your PX730WD, and you are now ready to reset the waste counter if you haven't already. That will clear the wasting error or service required error that your printer is currently showing, and you'll be back up and running again. As we mentioned, we'd recommend the external waste tank over these pads every single time, but we recognise that some people just don't have the space for something like this, so that's fine. Hopefully this has been quite useful. As ever, if it has been useful, please do give us a like, subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. Please comment if you've got any constructive criticism or you'd just like to say thanks. That's always appreciated. And you can always contact us using our support contact details in the description too. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Which locks in, and that goes over the... No! Damn it. Ah, it did drop out. Good. So that's what you don't do.